Recently, my daughter graduated from high school. I have been so excited about it, not just because it's a big achievement for her, but because it also means a lot to me personally. As a single father, seeing her reach this point feels like a huge victory. It hasn't been an easy journey, and this milestone reminded me of everything we've been through together. 2 years ago, my life changed in a painful and shocking way. I came home to find my wife, well, now my ex, with another man in our bed. It was like something out of a nightmare. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. She didn't even look ashamed or sorry. In fact, when I lost my temper and confronted the man, she didn't try to stop it or explain. Instead, she defended him. She actually threatened to call the police on me. Think about that. She was cheating on me in our home, in the bed we shared, and when I reacted like any hurt and betrayed husband would, she sided with the man she cheated with and acted like I was the problem. That moment broke something in me. Without thinking twice, I kicked both of them out of the house. I didn't care what they had to say. My home was no longer a place for lies and betrayal. After everything that happened, my ex didn't stop there. She's the kind of person who will twist the truth to make herself look innocent. She actually tried to lie to our daughter and make it seem like she was the one who was hurt, as if she were the victim in all of this. It's disgusting, honestly, how far she can go to protect her image, even if it means confusing and manipulating our own child. But even with all that, I've stayed mostly quiet. I never wanted to drag my daughter into the mess. She's just a kid, and she doesn't deserve to carry the weight of what really happened between her parents. That's why, to this day, she still doesn't know the full truth. She thinks her mom and I had a really bad fight, and that's why we separated. She doesn't know about the affair or the way her mother betrayed me in the worst possible way. I've kept my mouth shut for her sake, not because I don't want to speak up, but because I want to protect her from the ugliness of it all. She's already been through enough. Maybe one day she'll be old enough to understand, but for now, I'd rather she hold on to the little bit of peace she still has when it comes to her mom. After we separated, my ex didn't waste any time. She started officially dating the same man she had been cheating on me with. Seeing that happen felt like someone drove a knife straight into my chest. It wasn't about jealousy. I didn't care who she moved on with, not really. But it did hurt deeply to see her so openly be with the man who played a part in tearing our marriage apart. At first, my daughter didn't like that man at all, but over time, she has changed. Slowly, she started getting used to him, and now she even seems to have warmed up to him. You see, unlike me, my ex's man comes from money. He's never had to work a real job in his life. Meanwhile, I'm a plumber. I work hard every single day, often coming home exhausted, just to make sure my daughter has what she needs. I don't have the luxury of sitting back and living off of family money like he does. I've earned every cent with my own two hands. Since they got together, my ex has been living the high life right alongside him. They're always traveling. One day they're in Europe, the next they're in some tropical resort. And when they do show up back home, they come with fancy gifts and shopping bags, handing them to my daughter like that somehow makes up for everything. Like gifts can replace being present. Like money can replace being a parent. But the truth is, I'm the one who's here every single day. I'm the one paying for her school, helping her with homework, cooking her meals, packing her lunch, and making sure she's up and ready for school. I'm the one who plans her birthdays, wraps her gifts, stays up when she's sick, and listens to her when she's upset. I've been doing all of it. So yeah, Sometimes it really pisses me off. I see them swoop in with all their shiny things, pretending like they're still deeply involved in her life. But parenting isn't about showing up with presents a few times a year. It's about showing up every day, period. It's about being there through the good, the bad, and everything in between. And the hard part is, I can't even say anything to my daughter because, again, I don't want her to feel torn, but inside it hurts a lot. Anyway, for my daughter's graduation, I wanted to make the day really special for her. I took her out shopping and bought her a beautiful graduation dress. She looked amazing in it, and seeing her so excited made me incredibly proud. I was looking forward to that day more than anything. But just 2 days before her graduation, she said something that absolutely crushed me. She told me she didn't want me at the ceremony. Not because she didn't love me, she said, but because her mom and her new husband, her stepfather, had finally agreed to come. And now she didn't want both of us there. She said having 2 dads at her graduation would make her feel uncomfortable and embarrassed. She didn't want people to see the complicated reality of our family situation. I was stunned, completely caught off guard. I asked her what she meant. I told her, I'm your dad. I've been there every step of the way. How could you ask me not to come to something so important in your life? But she stood by her decision. To her, it was easier if I just didn't show up. I tried to reason with her. I told her that if she didn't want 2 dads at the ceremony, then maybe it should just be her mother and me, the 2 people who actually brought her into this world. Her stepfather could sit this one out. But she told me she didn't want to hurt her stepfather's feelings, that asking him not to come would upset her mom, and that was something she didn't want to deal with. She also argued that going forward, her stepfather was going to be more important in her life than I was. Because according to her mother, he had more connections and knew the right kind of people who could possibly help her with her career or future opportunities. I was speechless. It was like the wind had been knocked out of me. After everything I've done, after raising her alone, after sacrificing so much, after being there every single day when no one else was, she was telling me that a man who showed up later in her life, who broke up my marriage, would matter more than me because of who he knew? It didn't stop there. She reasoned that she knows I don't have a proper suit for her graduation ceremony, and that her stepfather would definitely be better dressed than I if he attended, that he would look more presentable at the ceremony in front of all her friends. She kept insisting that I should just skip attending this ceremony. It hurt more than I can explain. My own daughter was choosing her stepfather over me. And for what? Because I wasn't rich enough? Because I didn't wear fancy suits or drive a luxury car? Was I suddenly not good enough for her? I've spent her entire life working myself to the bone to give her everything she needed. I may not have had all the money in the world, but I gave her my time, my love, my presence every single day. I showed up for her in ways money never could, and now it felt like none of that mattered anymore, like it was all just invisible to her because I didn't have the image, the wealth, or the social status that her stepfather had. Even on the morning of my daughter's graduation, I kept hoping that she would finally change her mind, but she didn't. My ex and her husband came to pick up my daughter. I stood there, watching them pull into the driveway. They both got out of the car, dressed to the nines. I stood there helplessly, watching my daughter walk out the door in the very dress I had bought her. Before leaving, my ex told me not to take things personally, as if being shut out of my daughter's big day was something irrelevant, as if I was overreacting. That moment will stay with me forever. I had imagined standing in the crowd cheering her on, tears in my eyes as she took her diploma, but instead, I was left standing alone on the front steps of my house, silent, heartbroken, completely shut out of the one moment I had been waiting for. After the graduation ceremony, my ex and her husband surprised my daughter with a gift, a second-hand car. The moment she saw it, she lit up. She was jumping up and down with excitement, hugging them, laughing, acting like it was the greatest gift in the world. I pointed out gently that she doesn't even have her driver's license yet. I wasn't trying to ruin the moment. I just thought it was something worth mentioning. But her stepfather brushed it off and said, "She'll learn eventually. I can teach her." Like it was no big deal. Like giving a teenager a car without a driving license is completely okay. Then my ex chimed in and told me that if I didn't like the gift, I should keep my mouth shut. That at least her husband could afford to buy our daughter a car, implying very clearly that I couldn't. Like money was the only thing that mattered in parenting. Like my love, my sacrifices, my years of effort didn't measure up to the price tag of a used car. Meanwhile, my daughter was all over her stepdad, hugging him, thanking him for the car, smiling at him like he was some kind of hero. Later that night, I was scrolling through social media and came across my daughter's graduation post. She had shared all her photos from the day, pictures of her in her graduation gown, smiling brightly, full of joy. And every shot only had her mother and her stepfather. The caption under the post was something like, "Grateful for the people who have had my back since day one." I just stared at the screen, not sure how to feel. There was not a single picture with me, not even a mention. I wanted to believe it wasn't intentional, that maybe she didn't mean to erase me. But reading those words felt like someone had reached into my chest and squeezed. I closed my phone and just sat there for a while, alone, in the quiet. Then, for the first time in a long while, I cried. Not out of anger, not even just out of sadness, but because I felt completely forgotten by the one person I thought I meant the world to. Ever since that day, her graduation day, I haven't been able to look at my daughter the same way. Something in me has shifted. I used to see her as my little girl, my sweetheart, the one I poured my heart into every day without question. But now, I don't know. She feels like a stranger to me sometimes. It's like everything that once felt warm and close between us has grown cold. I see bits of her mother in her now, and not the good parts. I see someone who seems to be learning how to use people, how to pick and choose who matters based on convenience, status, or what they can offer. That terrifies me, and it hurts, because I raised her to be better than that. I raised her with love, with values, with honesty, and yet now it feels like she's slipping away into something I can't recognize. She's noticed too, lately. She's been trying to talk to me, but I just can't bring myself to open up. I've been keeping my responses short or ignoring her altogether. I feel so wounded that I don't know how to pretend things are okay. I don't know how to act like I wasn't completely sidelined and forgotten in one of the biggest moments of her life. aita for not being able to let go of this hurt. Update 1. Truthfully, I have been hesitant to even put this out there, but reading all your comments, knowing that some of you understand even a fraction of what I'm feeling, really meant more than I can say. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Just clarifying a few things here. Yes, I still provide for my daughter. I never stopped being her parent just because she hurt me. I've still been cooking for her, driving her when she needs it, handling whatever comes up. But emotionally, I've pulled back, and I think she's felt that. No, she still doesn't know the truth about what happened between her mother and me. I've kept that to myself all these years because I never wanted to drag her into that kind of ugliness. I didn't want her to grow up hating her mother. Maybe that was a mistake. Maybe it gave her a one-sided view. But I did what I thought was right at the time. Some people asked if I've talked to her about how I feel. The honest answer is no, not yet. I know communication's important. I know I should probably sit her down and explain why I'm distant, but right now, I don't trust myself to do that without letting my pain turn into anger. And I don't want to say something I'll regret. I want to be calm when I speak to her. I want to come from love, not bitterness. Some of you have been suggesting in the comments that my ex might be poisoning my daughter against me. I can't say that for sure, and I don't want to throw out accusations without proof, but I can agree that something has definitely shifted. My daughter's attitude towards me has changed fast and in ways that feel unnatural. It's like I went from being her whole world to just being a background character. I don't know what's been said behind closed doors, but I can't shake the feeling that someone's been reshaping how she sees me. Update 2. My daughter's going on a vacation tomorrow with my ex and her husband to celebrate her 18th birthday. I didn't even know about it until today. She didn't tell me ahead of time, didn't mention it in passing, didn't even give me a heads up. When I asked her where she was going and why she didn't inform me beforehand, she snapped at me. She said it was none of my business. Then she added that since she's about to turn 18, she doesn't have to answer to me anymore. I was taken aback by her tone and attitude. So I reminded her calmly but firmly, I'm still your father. But instead of backing down, she rolled her eyes at me and said, I wish you weren't. At least Mom and Stepdad are taking me on a real vacation instead of giving me a cheap birthday party. I just stood there stunned. It wasn't just the words, it was how easily she said them to me. Like she's been thinking this for a while. Like she's been comparing me to her stepfather, making me seem small in her eyes, like the years I spent raising her alone, struggling and sacrificing, suddenly counted for nothing because I don't wear designer suits, or drive a luxury car, or take her on exotic vacations. I didn't argue with her. What was the point? Anything I said would have just made things worse. When my ex and her husband came to pick her up, my daughter left without even saying goodbye. Update 3. This week after my daughter came back from her vacation, I asked her if we could sit down and have a serious talk. I wanted to clear the air and tell her what I had been feeling for a long time. When we finally talked, I told her honestly how much it hurt me that she didn't want me to come to her graduation. I said that it felt like she was pushing me away, like she was drifting apart from me, and that feeling was really painful for me. I was trying to explain how devastated I was to see our relationship change like that. But instead of listening or understanding, she just rolled her eyes at me. It felt like she didn't care about my feelings at all. So I told her something I hadn't said before. I told her that if she was going to treat me like this, like I didn't matter, then I wasn't going to keep helping her anymore. I told her that I was cutting off her college trust fund and that I planned to use that money to take an early retirement for myself. After all, it's my money. I have the right to decide how to use it. I wanted her to understand that actions have consequences and that she can't just push me away and expect everything to stay the same between us. My daughter immediately started arguing back. She said it wasn't fair at all, that the money was basically her money since it was supposed to be for her college. I calmly told her that it was never really her money until I decided to give it to her. It was my hard-earned money, saved for her future, but it still belonged to me until I handed it over. She got louder and more upset, arguing why I was not willing to give her the money anymore. She said she hated me, that this is why she just can't stand me anymore. She said she was glad she listened to her mother and only invited her stepfather to the graduation instead of me because he actually cared about her and treated her better. She continued to tell me that she had always been embarrassed of me, that I didn't understand her or what she needed. She said I was selfish for holding on to money instead of just letting her have it. She called me cold and said I never really loved her, only took care of her out of obligation. At one point, my daughter screamed, I should have just left with Mom. Maybe then I could have had a better life with her and my stepdad. I shook my head slowly and something inside me just broke. I couldn't keep holding it in anymore. I looked her in the eyes and finally told her the truth. Everything I had been keeping from her for years. I told her how her mother had cheated on me. How I came home one day and found her in bed with another man, the very same man she's now married to. I explained how her mother didn't even apologize. How she didn't show an ounce of regret. In fact, when I got angry and confronted the man, she took his side. She even threatened to call the police on me. I told her how I had no choice but to kick both of them out of the house that day. I told her how, after the separation, it was clear that her mother didn't want the responsibility of raising her. That's why I got primary custody. Not because I fought some long legal battle, but because her mom didn't fight at all. She didn't want it. She chose her freedom, her new life, and her relationship over her own daughter. At first, when I told her the truth, my daughter refused to believe me. She looked at me like I was making it all up. She got defensive, like I was just trying to turn her against her mother out of jealousy or spite. But I showed her the court records, documents from our custody agreement, and the divorce proceedings. I didn't tell her all of this to hurt her. I told her because I had stayed quiet for too long, hoping to protect her. But in staying silent, I allowed her to believe a narrative that wasn't true. I allowed her to believe that her mom had always been there for her when in reality she had walked away from us. When I finally told my daughter everything, she broke down in tears. Her whole face softened, and after a long pause, she began to confess things I didn't even know she'd been carrying. She told me that for years her mother had been telling her that I was the one who broke up the family. That I had ruined everything for no reason, that I was the reason she never got to have a normal or complete home life. According to her mother, I was the one who pushed the family apart and made things worse for everyone. Hearing that, knowing my daughter had believed that all this time, was heartbreaking. I just shook my head and said to her, "You should have talked to me. You should have asked me what really happened instead of believing only one side." She apologized through tears. She said she was sorry for how she treated me, sorry for the things she said, sorry for not giving me the benefit of the doubt. I heard her. I could see that she was finally starting to understand the weight of everything. But I was also honest with her. I looked at her and said, "Whether you're sorry or not, I'm done. I've done my part. I've raised you, fed you, stood by you, loved you, and protected you for 18 years. I've done it alone, without help, without recognition, without ever putting you in the middle of what your mother and I went through." I told her that she's an adult now, that if she wants independence, she's going to have to earn it. I wasn't going to keep carrying the full weight of being a parent while being treated like I didn't matter. My daughter again got upset. She started to argue with me, asking how she was supposed to pay for her college expenses now. She said her mother never saved up anything for her education, and that she couldn't rely on her for that. Her voice cracked as she asked, "What am I supposed to do now?" I listened, but I stayed calm. I reminded her gently but firmly that she didn't seem to think about any of that when she made the decision to exclude me from her graduation. I told her, "You didn't have a problem inviting your stepfather to one of the biggest moments of your life. Maybe now you can go ask him for help with college too." She looked heartbroken. She didn't know what to say. I could see the remorse on her face, real, deep regret. But at that point, I looked at her and said, "I've done my part. I've been a responsible father every single day of your life, and it got me nowhere. Not even a seat at your graduation. Now I need to start putting myself first. I have nothing left to give." Ever since then, my daughter's been trying to convince me to change my mind, but my plan is set now. I'm not changing it. Once my daughter moves out in a few months to start college, I'll be selling this house. I've been thinking about it for a while, and now it just feels like the right time. This place is too big for me anyways. I don't need all this space anymore. I only stayed here this long because of her, to give her stability and a place to grow up in, but now that she's moving on with her life, it's time I move on with mine too. She's angry at me. She says I'm being cold. She accuses me of not caring about her anymore, but that's not true, not even close. Truth is, I've always cared. Every single day for the last 18 years, I've cared. I've cooked her meals, paid for her education, stayed up worrying about her, planned her birthdays, sacrificed things for myself so that she wouldn't have to go without. Everything I did it out of love for her. But I've also realized something. While I've spent all these years taking care of her, I haven't taken care of myself. I've been pouring from an empty cup, and when she pushed me away, when she chose others over me without understanding the full story, that broke something inside me. Made me realize I need to start putting myself first for once. I need a fresh start too. A smaller place, a simpler life, and maybe a bit of peace for myself. Update 4. A few days ago, my daughter went to visit her mother and stepdad. During that visit, she broke the news to them that I would no longer be financially supporting her through college. Not long after she left their house, my phone started blowing up. First a bunch of text messages and then back-to-back calls from my ex. She was furious. She demanded to know what I meant by saying I wasn't going to pay for our daughter's tuition anymore. She acted like I'd suddenly decided to abandon my responsibilities without warning, ignoring the years I spent shouldering everything on my own. I stayed calm and told her the truth that I had done my part for 18 years. I had been there every single day, providing for our daughter emotionally, physically, and financially. I reminded her that her husband, the same man she cheated with and later married, comes from money. He has no issues buying fancy gifts, flying her around the world, dropping money on second-hand cars, so now it's her turn. If she and her husband can afford lavish things, then surely they can handle college tuition too. She didn't like that. She got defensive immediately. She told me her husband was fine giving materialistic gifts like clothes or gadgets, but that he would never pay for college because it was too much responsibility. According to her, he saw that as my job since I'm the real father. I let out a dry laugh and told her, "You're her mother. This isn't just on me anymore. You've let me carry this alone long enough. You and your husband can figure it out now." She didn't take that well. She started shouting, calling me selfish and a bad parent. But I didn't stick around to listen. I simply said, "I've done enough," and hung up. Update 5. Ever since that phone call with my ex, things have only gotten more tense. A few days later, my daughter came home in tears and she looked completely heartbroken and overwhelmed. Through sobs, she told me that her mother had sat her down and told her plainly and without much sympathy that neither she nor her husband would be paying for her college tuition. Not a single cent. Her mother admitted she hadn't saved anything for her future and that she shouldn't expect financial support from them. My daughter was devastated. I stayed calm and told her, if that's the case, then we need to look at realistic options. You can apply for scholarships, or I can help you get an education loan. There are ways to pay for college, but it's not going to be handed to you the way you expected. She protested immediately. She got frustrated and started arguing, saying things like, "But you can just pay for everything. Why are you making this so hard?" That stung a little because it brought me right back to how she had treated me before. As if my only role in her life was to fix everything, quietly and without thanks, while being pushed aside when it suited her. I took a deep breath and told her, "I have paid for everything for years. I've given you my time, my money, my energy, and my heart. I was always there. But now it's time for you to take some responsibility too. I'll help you figure it out, but I'm not going to be your safety net when I was never treated like I mattered until things fell apart with your mom." She didn't like hearing that, but it had to be said. I am not abandoning her, but I'm guiding her toward becoming an adult, one who learns that life requires effort, choices, and consequences. I'm not the bad guy for setting boundaries. I still love her. But I won't keep draining myself for people who only come to me when they've run out of other options. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.